It's episode 14. We've gone past the unlucky episode 13, which was Before the Flood. We're now on the album Before the Flood, Planet Waves, which is a studio album from 1974. It's the first proper Bob album since his, well, for ages. I'd say since New Morning. This is the first album since the Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid soundtrack. Unlike that one, it's packed with new Bob songs, and he's backed by the band. This album was recorded in 3 days at the Village Recorder in Los Angeles, and we're going to talk about what we think of it. My colleague today, my name's Sean Hewitt, by the way. I'm in Alcatraz at the moment. I've actually been imprisoned there for crimes against podcasting. Sid is in relative comfort in his personal luxury eco-pod, which this week is floating above San Moritz. And what we're going to be talking about is this wonderful album by Bob Dylan, Sid's favourite artist. And we're going to try and place it in context. This is a pretty rough and ready album in many ways. It's got the band on, so that's off that explanation. Most of the songs are recorded around about the time of the recording sessions. One in particular, the most famous song off this record, Forever Young, had been in Bob's back pocket for a while, and he'd been tinkering with it. It's a song to his son soon after his birth, and he was really keen on getting that one down. But on this album, even though it's not one of the most lyrically focused albums in the canon, there are hints of problems in the marriage, and there's a lot of sneaking references to Sarah in some of the upbeat numbers. When you get to a song like the song we'll come to, Dirge, there's a lot of angst in that song, and indeed the album ends with a song that's basically a love song to her, the wedding song. What did you think of this one, Sim?
So again, this Planet Waves was one of those albums. I saw it everywhere, like before the Flood we were talking about in a previous episode. It was just one of those albums. Everybody seemed to have it. I mean, not being much of a Bob Dylan fan, I didn't have it. However, I love this album.
Do you?
I really.
Hang on a minute. Can you just say that again? I seem to have some sudden loss of breath that affected my hearing. What did you just say?
I said I hate this album. It's.
That's not what you said before.
No, it is. It is. I hate this album. I love this album. Why do I like it? It's for me, again, not knowing any of the context about the songs, nor frankly caring.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm Mr. Context here. That's my job. You don't give a toss.
I love the vibe of the album. It's got a great rootsy feel to it. At the time I didn't really appreciate it. I heard it, it would be percolating away at dinner parties or whatever, sort of whatever gatherings that were going on in people's houses. And kind of just sort of went in one year and out the other. It was innocuous, really, I suppose. But what struck me was just how much of it, when I listened to it, like on this series. So I've never owned Planet Waves before. So I didn't have it on CD or anything like that. But listening to it on LP, I was surprised by how much of it I remembered. So I said it went in one year and out the other, but actually a lot of it landed for me, which surprised me. I loved, I often struggle to find, there's some Bob Dylan tracks, I think are okay, but utterly unremarkable. There's always one or two that sort of have a bit of an edge to them, and you can like them or admire them or respect them. But actually, with this album, I just like them. They're flat out just nice songs. Even the slow, dirgy songs I like. There's just such a good vibe to the album. I think I like the sound of the album. It comes with the band, so in a sense, some of that stuff is preloaded for me. You know, I like the world, the sound, which, as I say, you know, back in when was this released? 75, 76?
74.
74, okay. So I wouldn't have known really much of that world at all back in 74 when I was hearing it. You know, this would
So
be
it's like pre your interest in the band, then, is it?
yeah, I think so. I'm sort of kind of by 75, which is when I would have been hearing it actually. By 75, 76, I would have been kind of on board by then, if you see what I mean. But or becoming on board with those kinds of musics. But there's such a good vibe to this album. It sounds like people are engaged. The arrangements have yes, there's a sort of slightly rough and ready aspect to the arrangements, but it's full of lovely little trills and ornamentations, which allow the songs to bloom and blossom, you know, in a way that I also think there's some good vocal performances on this album. I mean, I don't know who's doing the vocals on it, but you know, like you've got Dylan doing the usual stuff, but it sounds like it's Bob Dylan on backing vocals as well. And you know, it's I mean, I dare say it's probably the band, I guess, but
I think it will be the band. I think a lot of this stuff will be just played live in the studio. I mean, it's all made in 3 days.
Yeah,
and they're just bashing it out.
But sometimes Dylan albums sound like they're bashed out.
They do.
And sometimes they either benefit for that, or sometimes, you know, the material is, you know, kind of not well served by being done in that way.
That's entirely fair.
But with this, Sean, I you know, it really works on every level for me. I would, when the time comes to kind of escape this terrible series that I've landed myself in,
just a few more years.
I would get, you know, I will ditch most of this vinyl. I will sell it on because I've no need for it. But I would probably keep Planet Waves.
Will you keep the backing cards for their record?
The backing. No, that's very unfair. Sean, for Sean is referred for our viewers. Sean is referring to my habit of not throwing away the cards on which the LPs come mounted from the newsagents. For some reason, in the corner of this room, I've got every single card that these LPs were mounted on. Why I'm keeping them, I don't know. In fact, I probably will keep those, but ditch the albums.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, sure. So overall, Planet Waves for me, thumbs up. I enjoy it. It's an album. As I say, I've not owned it before. I've not owned it on CD, but I'm actually quite glad to have it. I can see it's a bit of a mood enhancer. Actually, it's a mood lifter for me.
So it cheers you up.
It sort of cheers me up. Yeah. I mean, I've no idea whether or not these songs have great portentous lyrics, because I tend not to listen to the lyrics. I don't know or particularly care if there's much social commentary in these songs. But they all work at a rudimentary level, which is pleasant upon the ear. And it's not often you can say Bob Dylan is pleasant upon the ear.
Well, we'll have to disagree there. But I agree with you. This is a pretty upbeat record for a large part of the running time. I mean, the way it starts off on a night like this is fantastically upbeat, and they sound like they're really enjoying playing that song as well. And that's true of a lot of these performances. These aren't this isn't a band going through the motions. They are actually trying to bring these songs over, and then almost immediately on a song like "Going, Going, Gone," you get this much more. It's still an animated performance by the band. It's still a much more downbeat song. And I must mention here the guitar work of Robbie Robertson on "Going, Going, Gone." I think he's great on "Going, Going, Gone." There's the tone and things he's doing with that lead guitar, and it's full of songs like that. "You Angel You," "Never Say Goodbye." A lot. I'm not going to go too much into the lyrics, but there's this thing of a lot of these songs are about Sarah, his wife, and in one of these songs he mentions, I think it's "Something That Is About You." He mentions knowing her back in Duluth, which is where he came from, and of course he never knew her in Duluth. And one thing I'll be talking about on when we get to Blood on the Tracks is he portrays Sarah. There's loads of women portrayed in Dylan songs. Some of them just flings, some of them just women he fancies, you know, and they're all done in a lightness of touch. But with Sarah, she's this enormously powerful force that he can't really, that overwhelms him. And so he's imagining her sort of projecting herself into his past where she never was on that song. Also, "Forever Young," which is quite a different kind of song. It's not about Sarah at all. It's about their son. And that is a lovely song. It's probably the most enduring song of all the songs on here. But that caused a bit of a kerfuffle when they were recording this. I think the story is one of the engineer's girlfriends was present when they were playing that song back. And Dylan was playing the first version of "Forever Young," the one that ends side one, back because he wanted everyone to hear it. And during this playback, this girl turned to him and said, "Oh, Bob, are you getting soft in your old age?" And that really upset him. And for a time, and we're talking about a very concentrated period of time, they were in the studio for 3 bloody days. I mean, it's not like a bloody huge project of months and months, but he did consider pulling the song because she thought it was a soft song. And almost perhaps as a kind of response to that, he allegedly composed the song "Dirge," which is just entirely performed by him on piano and Robbie Robertson on guitar. And that's allegedly a first take as well. And that is definitely about Sarah. And the main repeated line in that song is, "I hate myself for loving you." And that is a genuinely powerful song. Probably my favorite song on this record, even though I think "Forever Young" is the best song. We get 2 versions of "Forever Young." I think it's an incredibly powerful song, and I think it also leads us into where he goes next. And the album ends with "Wedding Song," which he sings entirely solo, and that is a song saying again his love for Sarah is all powerful and all enduring, and it's almost like he's trying to convince himself of that. It's almost like he's protesting too much, if you like. When he's desperate to believe that he can save it, and he's desperate to believe he believes the words of those songs. Allegedly, Sarah was there when that was recorded, which is again A, very interesting, and B, not the last time that will happen with a song about Sarah. He often whips one out when she was there this period because he was very keen to get through to Sarah, but something's about to happen with his creative life that will even widen the gap between them. Overall, I think this album was part of what turned out to be a 2-album deal with Asylum Records in America. You've informed me today that this album came out on Ireland with a different back cover in Britain. I didn't know that, so that's something I've learned from you, Sid, about Bob Dylan today. So one thing to mention about this Asylum deal is Before the Flood, the album we did last time, and Planet Waves are the only 2 records that came out on that. And with his next release, Bob is back on Columbia. He's back with CBS. And indeed, as you look from the definitive vinyl edition version of this comes on a Columbia label. Columbia acquired both albums, and they're now part of their official Bob Dylan catalogue, which the album they put out in protest at his deal with Asylum, Dylan decidedly isn't in most of the world. So that's probably one of the terms of his deal. Overall, I think this album's a very interesting album and a transitional album, and it shows him getting back in the saddle. He's about to go on a big tour with the band. He wants some new songs to go with it. He's one of his main requirements to go on tour, and he's done the cover again, which is one of his own pieces of art. I'm sure you'll have some comments to make about that. I like Planet Waves a great deal. It's a great load of fun to listen to. It's got some very interesting moments, emotional highs and lows. It's extraordinarily well played. It sounds good. It's a well produced album. And I think as an album in itself, it's remarkably good value. I think its main interest for me is where it leads him with his next record.
It reminds me of back in the day. The other person who it sort of vaguely echoed for me was Ry Cooder. I was listening to lots of Ry Cooder at the time. Again, just because of the people I was mixing with and socializing with. And as I say, we go back and after the pub or something and stick Ry Cooder. Somebody would stick a Bob Dylan album on, or somebody would stick a Ry Cooder album on. Ry Cooder, there's sort of Ry Cooder-ish elements within this. I'm thinking of primarily I'm thinking of like the accordion bits on A Night Like This. I presume is Garth Hudson doing that. It's just reminds me of elements of Ry Cooder albums, and one of the reasons I like Ry Cooder albums is because every track, even the slow ponderous tracks that Cooder sometimes slips in, there's a joyousness to the albums overall, and Planet Waves certainly does that for me. It has that sort of same effect, It's very upbeat overall. I mean, I know there's some slow ponderous numbers on it, but it has a kind of a...
There's some slow numbers, said. I wouldn't say they were ponderous.
Right, okay. There's some slow numbers on it, but it all works exceptionally well. There's just a lightness of touch to it.
There's an unusual lightness of touch for Bob.
I don't always hear in Bob Dylan albums. So what's the... I think you might have already mentioned your favourite track, but what's the one track you would pick on the old desert island from
Dirge.
Planet Waves? Dirge. It's interesting you picked Dirge. When I was thinking about what's the one track I would pick, I really like Dirge, primarily because when is it Bob Dylan playing the piano on that one?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a nice chord sequence. It's a really nice chord sequence that it sort of strays slightly off the usual stuff that that Dylan often favors, and I like that. So there's something about when he plays the piano, he sort of writes songs in a slightly different way.
Yeah. You prefer it on the piano, don't you? Prefer him on the piano, don't you?
Looking back, not that I have looked back, but don't look back. But
don't look back.
Looking back, I've picked a few songs where it's Dylan on the piano, and Dirge was definitely something that appealed to me. The track actually, in the end, that I went for all the reasons I've already explained, is Going, Going, Gone. And it could have been, I don't know, it could have been On a Night Like This, it could have been one of the other ones. I find there's some of the songs, the lyrics kind of get in the way a little bit because they're a bit too syrupy. I love you, you're beautiful. There's a bit too much of that.
Which song goes like that?
But
where does he say that?
But Going, Going, Gone just really appeals to me. It sings to me. Sometimes you hear music and you don't necessarily know why you like it.
That's true. Yeah.
It just picks you up and transports you somewhere. And and this one definitely does that. Where are we next in the Bob Dylan journey?
Well, in our next episode, which will be episode 15, we are going to, again, skip time tracks, as a great man once said. And we are going to go to the album after the next one. So our next record is a double album, and it's the Basement Tapes.
Great stuff. Okay, that's it.
See you next time.